Ooh, I'm too close. I'm off my pillow. Okay, hi. My voice is already like, don't talk about this, you're anxious. I'm not anxious, this is just a topic that what I'm talking about, I'm really I'm vulnerable and I'm uncomfortable talking about what I'm talking about because this is a wound that it's been triggered in me recently and I'm like working through it and understanding it a bit more, but it's still just definitely like alive in my heart. And it's one that's like, it's got a whole lifetime history with me and with probably a lot of people. If you have Leo, sorry that I'm talking about something really vaguely and not saying exactly what it is. I just feel like I need to give this disclaimer before I launch into stuff. Because yeah, I don't know, astrology brain of me just wants to be like, if you have like Leo and Aquarius placements, you probably will resonate with this. But also if you just resonate with this feeling and you don't have those placements, you still resonate with the feeling. It doesn't matter. That's just my astrology brain being like, ooh, Leo season, you're a Leo rising, this has been a thing, blah, blah, blah. But I'll try not to talk in astrology terms because I know not everyone is on that wave. Not everyone's riding that surfboard. And that's okay. But what I'm talking about is something that definitely, runs deep in me. And I might either say some stuff or express some stuff or, I don't know, it could potentially trigger a lot of people because it's around ego. And I know that there's a little bit of just an envelope that runs in society, around society being like, ego bad, ego bad, ego bad, anything to do with ego bad. I'm currently trying to see myself through a lot of shame right now. Like I'm shaming myself for having this problem because it's around ego. I'm not active, like, no. I was gonna be like, I'm not actively doing it right now, but I was like, I'm no bitch, like an hour ago, kind of were. Because problems with ego, when I come face to face with them, there's like this voice in me that just tells me to get over it and just to be like, whatever about it. Because like you shouldn't care. Like I shouldn't care about this so as much as I do. But I do. And if you're someone like that as well, like if you relate to anything that I'm saying, like the whole purpose of this video is that I want you to know that it's okay to care about your identity and how you're seen and like the parts of you that you really feel like you make you and your personality and your uniqueness and being seen and being loved for who you are and like having your friends and like it's okay to care about it is essentially what this video is about. And just I guess I just want to talk about how I've grown around this feeling of particularly like not only just identity and ego, but this interaction that has been kind of popping up in my life for like a while, probably in yours too, around ever since I was a teenager, because I can feel it as I've been working through this and like as I've been kind of interacting with my feelings around this, my feelings are very teenage oriented. I feel like a bitchy little teenager. And when I trace back my initial resistancy, kind of more frustrated, jealous, angry, annoyed feelings, they all stem from when I was like maybe 12, 13. And that's like currently, those are the reactions that I can still feel myself reacting with. Like, sure, I might like be able to like quickly be like, Annabelle, okay, like, and come to the point that I'm at now, but there's definitely still some reactive teenager inside of me. And that's okay, because clearly there's just some stuff that I'm not giving myself. But we'll get there. So what I'm talking about is identity. And this concept that, well, it's not a concept. It's the reality that as a person, there's no pure identity. No person is purely from their own volition them. And I can feel some Aquarius placements getting a little bit triggered. Maybe even some Leo placements. But I say this because no matter who you are, unless you've been a baby locked in a room with no outside influence at all whatsoever, nothing nothing, you are your environment. You are your parents, you're your siblings, you're your best friends, you're your auntie, your uncle, your teachers, your boyfriends, your girlfriends, your they, them friends. Like, no matter who you are, you're a little sponge that just soaks in the people around you. And you subconsciously or even consciously choose the parts that you see in the environment that do resonate with this unique frequency that is you. Like, you do, it's true that everyone is unique, but it's also true that everyone is made up by like puzzle pieces of their life. And that unique light in you chooses those puzzle pieces, and nobody else is going to choose the same puzzle pieces as you, and nobody else is going to put the puzzle together the same way that you do. But it still is that. Do you know what I mean? Does that make sense? That's the kind of thing that I'm saying, that I'm talking about. Hopefully that makes sense. And my interaction with this will start from the triggered 13-year-old. Is that from, when you're 13, when you're into your teenage adolescence years, that's when you really start to form like a sense of who you are and your identity and your individualism. And everyone's figuring it out. And I started to see a pattern from that age onwards where people around me would like the things that I would like and take it as a part of themselves and start building that puzzle with pieces of me. And I don't think I initially cared that much until I started seeing people shine and get attention from them embodying the things that they had taken in my little teenage brain. They'd taken it from me. See how this is like a very like teenage, like possessive thing of just like, you got that from me and now you're getting attention from it. I hate you. That's the core of what we're dealing with right now. Like that little voice of like, I can't actually remember any of the circumstances. All I remember is my feelings and my wounds. But maybe I was shopping with a friend and they bought a similar top to me, and then we were out and they got a compliment on it, and then they were like, thanks. And in my head, I'm just thinking, you only got that top, or you only saw that top because I saw it for you. Or like, you only got that top because I said it looked good on you. Or you only got that top because I got it and you thought it looked good on me, so you got, like, whatever thing my brain would have, you know what I mean? Like, I think if you know the feeling that I'm talking about, if you know the thought train that you go down as like a 13-year-old, and in Leo Aquarius placements, I have so much compassion for that little girl, because all that, it stems from a feeling of like not being seen and not being loved, and wanting to be seen and wanting to be loved, and wanting people to see you and wanting people to go, oh, I see you doing this thing and I love you for that. I love how you look in this thing. I love your taste of music. Like that recognition and identity of, like the recognition of your identity and that affirmation of it. And like, just that, you know, because it's a really powerful, beautiful thing. And that's why compliments are so beautiful. That's why when someone compliments you, or when somebody points out something, or when somebody tells you that they're inspired by you, or that they bought something because of you, or that they're listening to something because of you, or like, that's why that kind of interaction is so powerful. And maybe it isn't for some people, but Leo rising, first house, fucking stellium, it is. It's important to me. And you don't need to have a Leo rising or Leo placements. If it's important to you, it's important to you. Sorry, my little astrology brain has to butt in because it's just a part of me. I love her. Yeah, that's definitely where this wound starts, is that it comes from this place of 13-year-old Annabelle, just like all the other 13-year-olds around her, really starting that journey of self-discovery. And then I didn't really feel seen by a lot of people, because I think when I was younger, I was really, I was in a dark place, and I didn't want to be seen, like consciously. Like, I don't think I didn't want to be seen, but there's this part of me that does. There's a part of me that wants to shine. Leo. Just like everyone, you know? And it's not just Leo, it's also innately human, just like I was talking about. And then I don't know when this whole process happened, but I'm sure it happened kind of like this. Maybe not so consciously, but maybe subconsciously, because I was able to identify that, I don't know if it ever happened, but like, I don't think I ever had a conversation with somebody to do this for me, but I think it probably happened in spurts of like, when somebody would either get something off me secondhand or get something from me, like be inspired from me. And when somebody would like give a little bit of that voice of influence or inspiration, I didn't feel so jealous because I felt seen in some way. And I think that maybe is how it started. I'm not going to claim to have orchestrated any of that. It was probably just a natural series of events. Because I know that I started to see it differently. Like I think that a little bit of because the bitterness always, usually for me, the bitterness stems from something that I do that I expect others to do. I'm just thinking about it right now. Like I don't know. Because there's also something in me that I do know. I need to stop saying I don't know. Because there's a part of me that I don't know if I've always felt like this, but I know that I've felt like this for at least quite a few years, is that the idea of being made up of everything around you, and like the idea of like having a best friend that you have, like you have shared pieces of clothing with, or that you are inspired, or you say similar things, like that idea of, I just did a painting on it, like love is recognizing the other in yourself, recognizing yourself in another and recognizing the other in yourself. Like that idea of having parts of you, like the idea of being inspired by another person, or like the idea of owning like your friend's shirt and then somebody complimenting on the shirt and then being able to be like, yeah, it's my friend's, like blah, blah, blah. Like that interaction and that part of identity is beautiful to me. Like I think it's so lovely. I think like a puzzle or a picture or a person being made up of like a bunch of different people and a bunch of different influences. And then also maybe sometimes where you've been shopping and you've seen something that part of you goes, oh, that's me, I want that. And that's that unique, like that's that interaction as well. Like there's going to be parts of you that are just from you and then parts of you from other people. But I think that melting pot of all of that is so beautiful. And for me, it rings so much more authentic than just a puzzle that's made up of like this one pure source. And I hope that, I'm scared that part of it might sound a bit judgmental, but like it's not that one is inherently more beautiful or like anything like that, but I think for me, I feel more authentic and I feel more real. That's what it is. Like I feel more real when there's this like admittance of I am me, but that me is comprised of so much and it's not just from me. And something that I like, maybe there's also like, not maybe, there's also this like streak within me that, not so much with the identity, but I see how it ties in with like art. I think I've spoken about it before, but when I was younger, like I always used to see little kids that could like create and like make up like aliens or different animals or different worlds, or like very imaginative, like creative, and like, yeah, maybe completely unique, pure, like just from the top of their heads drawings. And I could never do that when I was little. The only thing I could ever really do is like copy something, is what I always had in my head, is that like, you know, if you give me something, I can trace something freehand. Like with a picture, if I have a picture and I have a blank sheet of paper, I can copy it down. And still to this day, I don't really like even bother trying to like work on that skill, or I want to cry. Like I still don't even see a lot of value in that skill inherently, as I would somebody who just creates something from their pure stream of imagination as like this contract that I have in my head, which I'm coming to also realize I'm trying to transfer this thought of logic of like that is something that's rare and that's really beautiful and that does exist, but it's not something that everyone should be able to do. You know what I mean? Like that does belong, that kind of gift and talent belongs to some people, but it's not the pinnacle and it's not the best thing. But that is what I tell myself, and that's something that I have as a construct in my brain to then devalue what I have, which is like, there are parts of me that can just, you know what I mean? Like I've been working around this kind of blockage for a long time, in the sense that like a lot of my art does just come from me. in the sense that I'll just abstract. Maybe it's what I'm abstract. Like abstract is what I'm saying. A lot of my stuff does tend to be abstract because I haven't worked on that skill of like still life or like copying or whatever it is, like, I don't know, whatever it is. But it's something that I have as a constructed in my mind to only disempower myself. And I think I think there might just be also a bit of a through line from that to this concept of identity that I've had to like rewire in my brain. And yeah, like it started in high school and then it kind of dropped off, and then it came up again as a wound in a pretty big way. But I think for the past few years, I've been pretty content with how I've developed my understanding and compassion for this kind of stuff, is that like everyone is who they are. It is such a blessing to be inspired by others. Like it's huge to see something in your environment, whether it's a person or a thing or an event or a color or a flower or anything. It's such a beautiful thing to see something outside of yourself and to feel the feeling and to make the decision and to make that connection of that's me and that's a part of me and I'm going to bring that in as a part of me. Whether that's from like a role model or like I was saying before, like a role model or your sisters or your family or your brothers or whatever. Like it's a big thing to identify yourself in something else and then to feel it so strongly to go, that's me. That's beautiful. And like I said, like I've recognized that I wanted other people to, if they were inspired from something that I do, I wanted other people to have that same excitement that I have, that I developed from, I don't know, like I think one thing that really just comes to my mind is that like one of my friends from where I grew up in the late, like this was only happened maybe in like 2019, 2020. We'd exchange a lot of clothes and like I got a lot of clothes from her, and whenever I'd be wearing something of hers, someone would compliment me on it and I would be so excited to be like, yeah, that's from my friend Maddie, she's Taurus, she has really good taste, it's really good quality, she got it from an up shop, and like telling the whole story and like giving light to that connection and to that exchange of like, this is a friend of like, this is me because it's from my friend and like we had the same taste and isn't that amazing, and like she got it, like, you know, like I fell in love with that interaction and with giving, like it's okay to take light for yourself, and I think that's a beautiful interaction. Like if I buy something and then like if I buy it and if I just identify that I like it for my own volition, my own like, this is me, I want that, that's also beautiful. That's also me being like, yeah, I found it, and like just really felt like me, and like I'm so like happy that I found it. That's also beautiful. And I think that's a beautiful moment where you can shine for your individuality and your authenticity and your connection to your identity. But it is also so beautiful when you can say like, this is me because of I am this, and this is me because of the people that I have around me, and because, you know, like I am me and they are me, and it's I am them, and it's just beautiful. I can't say it any better way than that. But yeah, it's been coming up recently that, I don't know, it's come up again in like a little wave of like, there's definitely still parts of me that are, how do I phrase it? Like I was saying in the beginning of the video, there is still a part of me that was triggered recently. And I guess I have been having a little bit of a difficulty in seeing this happen again, and like seeing some of my friends have parts of me and not give the credit, and then I noticed myself still get triggered by it, like still being that teenager that's like, I gave you that and you didn't say anything and you're just claiming it as your own and people are loving you for it. And that makes me mad. And I'm torn about feeling that way because, again, I think the part of me that's just been kind of conditioned by general society just tells myself to like shut up and get over it. Because like, how ego driven of me to think that part of me is me, you know? Because it's not. And like, that's, I guess, the resolution that I keep coming back to is like, okay, Annabelle, like, these people are going to do what they're doing, and that's okay. You've also been this person, and they're just trying to figure out who they are in whatever way. And you don't need, I think it's touching on a part of me that is maybe acknowledging that I don't let myself shine. Maybe I haven't acknowledged how much attention I want. And this has been also something that I've been thinking about a lot, because I'm predominantly Virgo. I have Leo, Mars and Rising, and the rest of me is Virgo. And Virgo doesn't want to be seen. And that's how I think I exist comfortably. And that's what I'm really grateful for, when people do see the parts of me and they will give me a compliment, or will like acknowledge like, oh, that, like, you know, like the Leo part of me revels in that. And the part of the Virgo part of me that receives attention without having to ask for it feels so like, oh, thank God I didn't have to ask for that. Because you still feel good. You still feel validated, and you still feel seen, and that's important as a person. But I think this recent interaction has maybe allowed me to acknowledge that there's a part of me that wants more attention that I'm allowing myself to get, in a way. Does that make sense? Like, I don't know. I think there's a lot of complexities in it, but I'm trying to settle on, and I'm trying to settle into somebody else, like the classic Leo lesson, which is somebody else shining doesn't take away your light. You know? That is like a foundational lesson that so many like Leos, or just like for a lesson of identity. I guess why I keep on saying Leo is because like Leo is on the axis of identity with Aquarius, and I just keep on drawing it back. Again, astrology brain. It's never gonna leave. It's never gonna go. That is like a foundational lesson that I think so many of people have to learn. And maybe it's the one that maybe it's part of what I have to keep drawing back to, is that somebody else shining doesn't take away your light. And also, just because I act a certain way, and just because I find value in a certain thing, like just because I find value in the interaction of sharing the parts of me that are made up of other people, doesn't mean that other people do too. And also, it doesn't mean that people are doing it consciously. And it doesn't mean that people are doing it in any bad way. Like, sometimes people just don't, sometimes people receive get a compliment, they just receive it, and that's okay. But I'm still, there's still a part of me that reacts, and there's still a part of me that shames that reaction. And I want to be able to figure out what I can give to that reactionary part of me other than shame. And I think I've settled on the fact that like, maybe I just need to like gas myself up and like brag about not maybe to brag about myself, but like, maybe I need to start recognizing more of my value, and like just letting those parts of me like receive, like maybe I need to start putting myself out there more. Because there's clearly like a little bit of me that's still stuck as a 13-year-old going, I want attention! I'm so beautiful and amazing and pretty and smart and funny and talented and creative and amazing that I want attention. Hi, I'm making a fucking YouTube video, duh. But like, clearly I want to shine more, and clearly I want to be seen more, and that's okay. And I think for the most part, like the friend stuff has been something that I've been like, I mean, this concept has been in my mind for probably like all of Leo season, and I hadn't really been triggered by anything until a couple weeks ago. And then that happened, and like I started to feel so many complex emotions because I was feeling them towards people in my life that I don't want to feel that way towards. And thankfully I had some really beautiful conversations with some of the people that were triggering those feelings, and also just some of my friends that were just helping me feel through and understand the situations. And I'm so grateful. So grateful for my friends. Oh my God. But yeah, I think I don't have any ugly feelings towards anyone anymore, and that's a relief, because I was feeling them, and I was feeling, again, like I was shaming myself for feeling that way, and it was just a whole cycle of shame, which is not great to feel. So I think I'm through and past that bit, but I'm just, trying to workshop like ways that I can just let myself get attention and start to recognize the parts of myself that other people recognize and that other people are inspired by. And like, maybe that's a little part of the feeling, is that like somebody is inspired by me and like they were able to see a light and they were able to be so inspired and they were able to take it on. And like, I guess maybe that's also a part of it, is that like somebody else saw something in me that I didn't see. Maybe I need to start seeing more of me and then bragging about it. Not bragging, but like, shining light on it. Being like, I see this part of me and it's amazing. Yeah, anyway, Leo season stuff. It's coming up. And ultimately I just wanted to talk about all this because I'm dealing with a lot of shame around this subject. And if I'm feeling it, somebody else is feeling it. And I just want you to know that it's okay and you're not a bad person for having these feelings. And you're not a bad person for, I think the other thing, the purity complex part of me, like I was sharing about the art and stuff, like it doesn't make you any less because you have parts of yourself that aren't purely you. There's a lot of power in giving other people light and other people love. And there's also a lot of power by giving you love and light. And I guess it's also just like a thing of humans always want connection, and humans always like the quote that I have the art around is like, love is recognizing yourself in another and the other in yourself. And that's such a beautiful connection because it can make you feel, even if you're distant from the people who you love and who are in your life, you can recognize them inside of you, or you can recognize it in a stranger, or you can recognize it in somebody who you just meet. And it's such a powerful connection. Because I think something that I dealt with a lot when I was a teenager is that, like, in that ego thought of like, I am me and I am only me and I am purely me and like all of me is only me and I don't have any outside influence or whatever, like whatever the thoughts were, it can get really othering. And that's something that I think I dealt with when I was really depressed. And I think it's something that I see. Hi, boo-boo. I'm sorry, she just like skated in. It's something that I think maybe more of the Aquarius placements can deal with, because I think Aquarius and Leo are both the axis of identity, and I think Aquarians, both of them identify with stuff that they feel like is me, like their whole thing is like, this is me, and Leos will just do it with whatever. And typically it's a lot of like mainstream stuff, like it's a lot of just like what's going around. Like a lot of Leos are trendsetters. A lot of Leos will just be like, they'll love something that like Leos will usually be the people that inspire masses, and like in that way. And then Aquarians will just usually have this thing in them that will, I don't know what it is innately, but Aquarian nature is unexpected, and they'll usually identify with things that are more niche and not as well known and not care about it because that's who they are. And they'll usually develop a really humongous strength around their identity of, I don't care if this isn't popular, I don't care if this isn't loved by so many people, this is me and this is who I am. And that's kind of who Leo is. Like that's the same, they have the same attitude to the same core, but it usually just happens that Leo seems to like things that other people like, or like it's the sun. Like they seem to like and like attract attention that other people seem to, I don't know what it is, but I just seem to see that that's the interaction between those two signs. But with both of them, if you get too caught up in this purity or singularity of identity, you can lose that connection and you can get really isolated. And I don't know, I've just also been there, and it's just not great. Even though it can feel really powerful to feel really like I am me, it can start getting really bad when you can start thinking nobody else is like me, and you can start feeling really alone. And that's probably one of the feelings that hurts the human soul the most, is that you're never supposed to feel alone in any way. So yeah, maybe that's also part of it, is that like, yeah, there is always like, you know, uniqueness and stuff from yourself always exists, but I think it's just really powerful to be able to see, yeah, the mosaic of like who you are in your life and your influences, and, you know, just being able to acknowledge the whole. As I was saying in the beginning, it just, for me, it feels more real, and so I find more beauty in it personally, and that's my Virgo. Being like, that's more real. It's more real to acknowledge that you are influenced by your environment and your people and your everything, than to live in like, oh, this is the judgmental Virgo. Well, it's not judgmental, but again, I just feel like I'm saying it very real. Is that like, to exist in the delusion that like you are not influenced by anyone. It feels like a delusion, and so it's kind of like you're being stupid. There's the Virgo. Anyway, I've now been talking for so fucking long. But this is important to me, and it's also Leo season, and yeah, I don't know, I've been struggling with it. If you're not struggling with it, that's okay. But if you are, I just want you to know that like, we all are a little bit. I am. And I'm shaming myself for a little bit for it. And if you are too, you don't need to. You're allowed to let yourself shine. You're allowed to feel like a little bratty teenager. You're allowed to feel like you own certain part. Like you're allowed, I'm allowed to feel all those feelings, but I think what I'm settling on is that feeling like you own something, or feeling like something inherently yours, does feel like a little bit of delusion. It's not gonna, again, it's the antithesis of that connection and that identifying of, it's not just mine, it's everyone's. It's in me, it's in my friend, it's in my mom, it's in my sister, it's in my school friend, it's in my teacher, it's in everyone around me. And I may feel a connection to that, and it might ring so true to who I am, but it will also ring maybe not in the same way, or maybe not to the same depth, or maybe not to the same shallowness, or like it'll ring differently in everyone, but that's also, that is uniqueness, and that is individuality, and that is it. Anyway, I feel like I've touched on so many things. I hope it all makes sense. And yeah, if anything kind of pinched in you a little bit, just be patient with yourself. Try and feel into what any pinches are actually touching, and what nerves might be kind of triggered or fired up and alive or whatever. But just know that any part of this journey is okay. Wherever you're at is okay. You don't deserve to shame yourself for any of it. Shame will never help. Might be a really good, like, fucking blazing red light to be like, this is a problem. That's pretty much the only thing that's helpful for. Everything else part that, once it identifies something that's like, from then on, there's usually just like patience or love or compassion or understanding and softness, and those feelings, try to center in on them. Anyway, yeah, I hope nothing came across as shamey. I don't know. I also don't want to overthink that too much, so I think I'm just going to start criticizing myself. But yeah. We're all feeling things. And if you're not, yay. You might be feeling other things, and I hope those are going okay. Bye. Have a beautiful day. It's pretty beautiful. I will talk to you at some other point. Bye.